Ladies and gentlemen, a very big welcome to tutorial number 3, where we are talking about the topic of project management. We basically already covered with the group, the case study. We spoke about the various materials relating to that case study. We went to the subject outline, and I'll show you that in a second. We spoke about all of these requirements of assignment 2. So we are going to be creating a content management website. There's all of these requirements, there's all of these modules that needs to be done, there's all of these desired outcomes. And we spoke basically about how you go and create the materials that are required here, the project charter, any other items that are required, and how do you track the delivery of these required items that are really worth 25% off your mark. And I recommended really to the groups that we need to go and deliver the communication. So you might want to use tools such as Slack to actually prove that you've been working very hard with your group and you're contributing, and you can include all of these screenshots. You can also include a lot of meeting minutes as part of your work as evidence of all the work that you've already done. I also spoke earlier with the group, and we spoke about creating the groups that are required. So anybody who did not have a group was added to the group. So if you don't have a group, please make contact with your tutor, and your tutor will be able to go and ensure they help you to go and be added to the group. And that needs to be done as soon as possible, because the task will start being due and live for submission this week. We also started talking about the task of the charter. So it's due on Sunday this week. Only the group leader, one person, the group leader, need to go and be submitting all the work via Moodle. I will be providing feedback on a charter. Actually was providing feedback to the guys already in the meetings, but for protection of everybody's data, I am doing the other recording. I'm going to bring all the students now inside, so that we're going to ensure that no personal data is actually jeopardized in this recording. But what I would like everybody to know is, when you are creating the project charter, you need to create a triple constraints, something within the specification. This is really the scope of the work that is required, the time needed to complete. It needs to be done under 6 months. So you need to actually incorporate that as part of your plan. And the budget needs to be below 1.2 million. So this is really the budget you need to go and ensure you are working on. There's obviously a budget, past to completed budget template that is available on Moodle. We will cover it in further tutorials, but all what I would say is, do not create your budget before you create a very detailed work breakdown structure that really explains and stipulate how are we going to be delivering the project and the tasks that are basically being requested from us. So please make sure before you go and create a budget, you create a very detailed work breakdown structure, which you can then make it a schedule by adding people, adding timelines to it. So guys, everybody now is back in this room. The reason why I put you all back in this room, with all honesty, is because I'm comparing the work that has been done by these people in this group, this tutorial, comparing to the work that has been done by the people in the earlier tutorial. What I noticed here so far is there are not many people who are actually late enrollee. There are only a few people late enrollee. In fact, I actually created all the groups last week. And I've emailed people and I've told them to start engaging together. But what I noticed is so many people haven't actually started engaging. That is actually a problem. Why? Because the project charter is due this week. All the other materials are basically due next week, the week after, and so on. And if we're going to continue with this speed in terms of the work that has been done, many people are not going to be working well on this assignment. So if any groups here, and this is a recording for everybody enrolled in the subject, if you haven't started engaging with your group the way you should be engaging, guys, you are setting yourself up for failure. This assignment builds week on the work that you need to do. You need to start doing the work week on week, because there's one task you do in week 1, 2 tasks in week 2, and then more tasks start coming in week 3 and week 4. So if you're not building and doing things according to the schedule, you will be having a lot of problems. So what am I going to really come and tell you? I'm going to give you a very quick overview. I'm going to go to try to see a way to get everybody's confusion out, because we cannot continue being confused like that. You guys will fail if you're going to continue being confused. So I'm going to share my screen here with you now. This is a Moodle site. This is ICT204, and you go all the way, and you can see when you go down, you can see that there's a case. It's listed. It's called JWD Consulting Printbook Approach. Now, what I've noticed so far in this group is that people didn't really spend the time to read this document. Now, this document gives you all the foundations that you need to be able to understand how do we go and do this assignment. So you need to go and really spend the time reading this document. For example, this document tells you how do you go and create a business case. This document gives you some examples of things such as stakeholder register and include internal and external people. This gives you a stakeholder management strategy, how you're going to contact them and communicate with them based on their level of influence and interest. It gives you a project charter, which is what you guys are working on at the moment. It gives you another structure for, kickoff meeting. It's like a meeting minutes of starting the project. It tells you about, things like a team contract, how we're going to work together. In other words, how we're going to engage to get the job done. It tells you about the scope, what is in scope, what is outside scope, and so on. It tells you about, the plan, the budget, the Gantt chart. So you can see there's a lot of details, all the risks that you might be having. So this document is not a document you want to go and read quickly. This document is a document you need to read into a lot of details, because if you do not do it, you won't have a lot of the good foundations. If you do not come and attend to the lectures, you won't have the understanding that you need to go and pick up in terms of everything you need to do. Not simply the tutorial. The tutorial is not enough. We are covering everything in a lecture. The tutorial is simply intended for you to apply what you've learned in a lecture. But if you're not learning in a lecture, you're going to come very confused and you can't go and work on your assignments. So you need to start working on this job and taking it seriously, because so far, so many people are not working on the actual assignment in the actual quality that it actually does deserve. So I go back and I'm going to show you another file. I'm going to try to make it a bit simple for you, especially because you're all kind of latecomers and you're all, well, actually only late with starting the work, and it's all showing that the work is not being done. So I'm going to give all of you task 1. You need to read the JWD consulting document. Task 2, you need to go over our lecture slides and especially cover the relevant materials. If I explain a charter, go and look at it. If I explain the scope, go and look at it. Don't just think that we will do it for you. We won't. You have to, guys, be able to apply it. If we do something for you, then what's going to happen later? You're going to go to do a job and you can't do the job. We care about you. We want you to have a good career in IT. And there's a lot of money in IT, but if you haven't learned what you should learn, no one is going to give you a job. So what I'm doing, I'm going to show you a very small summary to try to help you. You want to create a project charter. I created all of these headings. My advice to you is you try to follow those headings for your project charter. Okay, the title, the date of authorization, the project start dates and end dates, a problem statement, what's the issue we're trying to solve, what's the business case, what's the benefit we are getting from that, what are the objectives of this project, what's the main success criteria, do we know, are we successful or not, what are the key milestones, what's the budget, high level budget here, what's the approach we're going to be following to be able to go and solve the problems. What sort of agreements have we signed between us and the company, for instance? Who is the project manager? Who are the stakeholders? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? All the comments, because all of these are things we need to go and think about in details. But I would say for your project charter, this is what I recommend you go and actually go and do now in terms of the assignment that is due this Sunday. There's no time. It's 1 mark, you will lose it. And the more you're going to have issues, the more you're not going to do the work, the more you're going to be losing marks. This is the structure I recommend you follow for the scope. Project scope, project title, project summary and justification, characteristics and requirements, summary of deliverables, success criteria, risks and assumptions, boundaries, constraints, assumptions, and so on. And then from there, we start working on more important things. You need to create a very detailed work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure is really a foundation of all of these tasks you need to go and do for your work. You don't create a detailed work breakdown structure, you are going to be having a problem. The work breakdown structure is really about ensuring, if I tell you I want to go and create a house, what are all of these main tasks I need to do to create the house? What are the subtasks I need to do to create the actual house? And what are the activities that I need to assign to people to be able to do the building of the house? Once you go and create all of these, what we call work packages, to assign to people, to assign a start time and end time, this is when you can get a budget. Because, you know, I put Fadi to work on this task. Fadi needs to work for 7 days. Fadi gets paid $1,000 a day. That's $7,000 for the 7 days that Fadi needs to work. So if you don't create that detailed work breakdown structure, and later assign people to it and assign, you know, wages to it, you won't get your actual budget. If you don't assign people, you won't get the right schedule. You won't get the Gantt chart, you know, if you're not putting the right information. You won't be able to report on how you're progressing. So you need to follow the step-by-step procedures. I just gave you a structure for a charter. I just gave you a structure for the scope. And I also told you, you need to create in details that work breakdown structure. That applies to everybody enrolled in the subject. You do not create a budget before you create a detailed work breakdown structure. Anything you create without that is going to be something that is missing and something that is not complete. That is my very quick introduction of the actual assignment. I go again and I remind you, you need to apply all of these things that I'm telling you in relation to this case study that is provided to you. We are doing a content management system / website. We need so many modules. Okay, we have those outcomes we want. So the details and the requirements are very clear, and it's about reading them in details to go and incorporate them. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask any question you might be having, because there's obviously a lot of confusion, and I bet this is not simply a confusion in this tutorial. There's a confusion with potentially a lot of people who are actually haven't started working on their assignment early, although they've been assigned to groups, or even people who enrolled late. So this is your opportunity to ask the questions about anything you guys are not sure about. Shoot, how can I help you? What don't you know about? Ask me. Guys, ask questions. Any questions at all?
I'll go.
Go.
So, you know how we have to assign stakeholders?
Yep.
Do we assign that roles to our own team?
Okay.
Or just imaginary people?
Well, stakeholders could be people who are working on a project. Stakeholders could be marketing departments. Stakeholders could be people who work in your business who you are delivering those projects for. Stakeholders could be people outside your business. For example, you're doing something because you want to abide by regulatory requirements. So stakeholders could be in your business, could be out of business. A lot of times when you're talking about project management, in the project management field, guys, what happened is a lot of time you are a consulting company who work in IT, and you are going to be delivering a project to a client who basically is external. Someone comes to you and say, I would like you to get me this intranet. So you become the client. They become a lot of your stakeholders. That doesn't mean that you don't have internal stakeholders such as your project team or your CEO who want to make sure you're going to make money from this project, but also you will have people outside the actual project who could be your clients. So stakeholders could be inside the business, stakeholders could be outside the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Any other questions?
Like on the list, can we put our own names?
Are you a stakeholder of that project?
Yeah, because I'm involved in it.
Yeah, you're a project manager, you're a team member, you're a business analyst, whatever you are a stakeholder.
So 4 of us are going to be the stakeholders.
What's that?
So the 4 people in our group are going to be the stakeholders.
They could be part of the stakeholders group, correct? Because they have a stake in that project. They really want to make sure that that project is going to go and achieve the outcome.
And can we add more people, like just random?
You definitely need to add more people. You need to actually understand who are the stakeholders of this work that we're telling you. I'll give you one example. You are doing it for the Waltzes Matildas. Okay, isn't that a good enough indication? That's one thing. Okay, so you need to think about all of these people who could be stakeholders for your project.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
it's
sir.
like the Waltzing Matilda. It's basically an unofficial national anthem, right?
Well, the Matildas are usually, you know, it's usually like if I go and look here, okay. So, an Australian-based IT management service provider, they currently provide a range of content management system. They are currently work in various industries and the most recent sporting organization. They have recently won a contract to provide CMS that will be used by the Australian women's soccer team, the Waltzing Matildas. So the information is given to you here. So when we say the Waltzing Matildas, it's really referring to the Australian women's soccer team.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So they're not referring to a song. They're
Okay.
referring to the actual group you actually creating it. So that's why it's very important to read the project background, because you need to be applying what we're teaching you to that specific details of your assignment. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So it's basically not the song. It's basically all about the teams. It's like, what will they come up with and what are the things? Yeah, all good, sir.
Correct. Any other questions? My friends, any other questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go on.
Sir, about the reviews and authorization, would it be like the manager and the project manager and the client representative from the JWD, or it will be us, the stakeholders?
So the authorization, who will authorize that you go ahead? Who is giving you the money?
Sponsor, I guess.
The sponsor, the client.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not getting the money. You don't give me what I want. You don't get the money. So your sponsor is the one who's going to need to give you authorization.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions, my friends? That's it? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Any more questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Guys, I just want you to know something that is really, really simple. Guys, we care so much about you. Okay, you're not simply a person in our class. You're not simply a number. Okay, we care about you. We want you to achieve success. When we don't see you applying the actual content that we're giving you and you don't do the job, we actually get upset. And I'm actually a bit frustrated today because I am actually upset that you guys haven't started because I really don't want you to fail this assignment. Now, what I want to tell you, you are like my children, and we consider you like our children. So if you don't do the job that you are requested to do and you go and fail, we get very upset because we care about you. So know this very clearly. I will always tell you, if you do something wrong, I will tell you you're doing something wrong. If you're not doing your job, I will tell you off. If you do the job, I'll tell you you're the best people. Keep on working hard. But I will need to keep on driving you. And we will, as tutors enrolled in this actual teaching, in this teaching group, we will keep on following up with you. We want to make sure that if you're not doing something the way that it should be done, we will follow up on you. We will tell you this is bad. If you do great things, we will say this is great. Keep working hard. This is not an easy assignment. If you're going to leave it, it's going to be very hard. You're going to go and fail. I've seen people getting 7 over 25 and 6 over 25 and 5 over 25. I'm not joking. Okay? You don't do the work, you don't get the mark, you will fail the subject. So it is as simple as that. And this is for everybody who's enrolled in this course. I'm recording this. We care about you. Work hard to go and get the outcome, because otherwise you won't get the outcome that you would like to go and get. So please work hard and start getting the job done. You need to go and complete a stakeholder register. I'm going to play a quick video about that so that you can understand what is needed there. So there's a quick examples. I'll play it now for you.
So let's take just a moment and look at an example of a stakeholder register. This particular register is in Google Sheets, but you could do this in Excel, in SharePoint, and a number of other tools. The important thing is that we understand what we might include in the stakeholder register. So in this particular example, I have an ID, okay, so that we can reference the stakeholders. We include their name. Now, I really like to have the individual, if it is an individual, I like to have their name. We're dealing with people, and so I don't want to know just their title, but I want to know who they are. So we include their name. We certainly want to know their title. We want to know their role in the project. So are they a sponsor, okay? Are they a vendor? Or are they a subject matter expert? And as we've talked about, it's important with the stakeholders that we consider the level of power and the level of interest that each of the stakeholders have. And so for each stakeholder, we ask ourselves, how much power does this stakeholder have? Is it low or high? And how much interest do they have in the project? Is it low or high? And then for each of the stakeholders, we want to know their needs and wants. Now, be careful here. We're not talking about detailed requirements. Okay, this is the stakeholder register. So just at a very high level, what do they need? So Gary Moore, who's the VP of Sales, says the project's got to be completed by the end of the third quarter. Okay. If we were to look at Ron Hall, the sales manager, he's interested in new features in the sales tools. We look at Dawn Smith, the programming manager, she's thinking about the programmer on this project and is thinking, hey, you know what, I may need that developer for month-end processing. So it'd be great to know that early in the project. The next thing that we want to know about these stakeholders are their concerns. And so as I'm interviewing these stakeholders, I like to ask the question, what are your concerns on the project? What do you think might hinder our ability to complete this project? So Gary Moore, the VP of Sales, says, you know, my concern is that our competition may deliver a competing product sooner. Ronnie McKinney, the senior developer, says, I'm concerned about the complexity of the interface to the third-party vendor. Julie Johnson, who's in the testing area, says, I'm uncertain as to how the new stress testing software will perform. And so each of the stakeholders, we ask them what are their concerns. So fairly simple example, but you want to just make sure you've got a register. Again, you could do this in any kind of spreadsheet or other, project management information systems have capabilities for capturing or may already have this type of function available. So check that out. Give that a try. I think you'll find tremendous value in the use of a stakeholder register.
Okay, guys, so this is a really a quick thing to really bear in mind in relation to the, what you need to do. You can create a register, either Word or Excel. You obviously, I repeat what I've basically been saying earlier. I do recommend you actually go and get the work ready early. So you come to my tutorial next week, don't come without having this file ready. Don't come without showing me the work. Like if you go and don't show me the stakeholder register that you created, how can I go and give you feedback on it? The simple answer is I cannot, and none of your group members will be able to go and do that. Like I've just noticed, for example, some person just joined now the tutorial. Guys, if you join late, how much are you really benefiting if you join in half an hour for the classroom? You need to be present throughout the whole way, not simply in the lecture, but also in the tutorial, my friends. So this is one of the tasks you need to go and do well, my friends. Otherwise, it will make it harder for you to get good feedback to be able to go and improve. So in next tutorial, I expect to see you delivering for me this register. I also expect you to go and create the scope statement example. I just showed you earlier in this video, I showed you a structure. You must create a template in either Word or Excel and submit a working draft again in your tutorial. Show it to me first, get feedback so that when you submit it on the 29th of the 11th, you'll be able to go and get a good submission. If you make a good submission, it means it's going to make it easier for you to be able to go and submit a final work that is basically considered of quality. If, however, you don't submit your work by the time that is required in terms of next tutorial on next Thursday, you won't benefit from the chance to go and get a feedback on how do you actually go and improve. And that basically, again, will affect your mark negatively. So guys, please look at these things. We have provided you a sample of the scope statement from JWD. It is available on the week 3 section of the Moodle. But I also showed you a statement myself that is even more elaborative. And I said, follow this structure. We'll help you out. We'll get you good outcomes. Now, one thing to really bear in mind about the Microsoft project, you are not required to use Microsoft project for doing the Gantt chart as we are doing it online. So you can submit the schedule in an Excel format or table. They have, for example, there is a very small example we've added for you, which I'll try to show you. Now, let me just open that file so that you guys will see it. So if you look at this file, this is a file we've added for you on the system. Okay, it's just kind of an activities, work breakdown structure, when they're gonna start, when they're gonna end, duration, milestone, and so on. What I want you to think about a milestone is really a way for you to put information that indicate that something important has been completed. For example, if I go and say, we went and quiz 1, okay? If I say, all right, we want to go and sit quiz 1, what do? You say, okay, I need to attend the class, lecture 1, I need to take notes, I need to revise at home, I need to attend lecture 2, I need to take notes, I need to revise. You put all of this information. Then you say, I set the quiz. And after you finish all of these activities, then you say, quiz 1 completed. Quiz 1 completed is not an activity that is consuming time. Quiz 1 completed is really what we call a milestone. It's really signifying that something has actually been completed. So bear that in mind to be able to ensure that you're gonna go and get the outcomes delivered appropriately as expected. Now, what I also want to say, although we told you you can create a schedule here, I want you to know that, you know, you can submit it in Excel, yes, but what I want you to know is, you look here, you may also use Microsoft Project. So you don't have to use the Excel sheet. Now, if you are asking me my opinion, having been in the field of project management, what I would tell you is, I do not encourage you really to go and create it using an Excel sheet. The reason why is because many of all of these big companies, the way that they work, they actually work based on the most up-to-date tools that are available. So Microsoft Project is really one of the main tools that is really used in industry by IT companies that are trying to deliver IT projects. There are other tools like Jira, Confluence, and so on. But if I talk about the project management, traditional project management body of knowledge way of delivering things, guys, what I would say is things go and get delivered using Microsoft Project. So KOI have open classes. KOI allows you to go to the library and to go and actually use Microsoft Project. There might also be availability for you guys to do download potentially project and use it on your computer. So what I would say is, if I was you, I will go and I will ensure I am using Microsoft Project to go and do my assignment rather than simply an Excel sheet. Why? It's very simple, because that is what people are using in industry. And because if I want to go and give you the skills, I want to give you the skills about what everybody really is using out there in the industry. That is my view. That is my recommendation. But as I said, you will not be marked down if you go and decide to simply go and use an Excel sheet to go and actually present your work. Now, I'm going to stop for a second and I'm going to ask, do you have any questions? Anybody have any questions at all? Every question is allowed. Anyone? Okay. Now, guys, if there is enough time, I will come back and we'll probably spend time on doing this work breakdown structure, which is really part of what you need to start developing in details for your assignment. But you could also go and review all of these YouTubes that are available about creating a risk register. But you need to bear in mind that you are not required to create an issue register for your assignment. So it's only there for your educational purposes, but you are not required to go and actually create that. Now, before I come back to this task, I want to go to task number 8, which is really about answering the questions. So for anybody who didn't come really to the lecture today, it's really a summary. There's much more that I've developed today in the lecture, but I'll mention a little bit here. What is a project scope management? Briefly discuss the main processes of project scope management. So we spoke about 6 processes relating to project scope management. What if scope management? It's really about ensuring we're going to set the processes to ensure that the project scope is really accurately defined and mapped. We want to know what they need. We want to know what they want us to deliver. We want to ensure we are going to deliver exactly what they're expecting us to go and deliver as an organization. So we ensure that the project team and stakeholders have the same understanding of what products the project will produce and what processes the project team will use to produce them. The main processes, you know, there's all what we call planning, scope management is the main process. That's the first one. What is planning, scope management? We need to go and actually plan, you know, really prepare a detailed project scope statement. How are we going to plan the creation of a scope statement? How are we going to plan the creation of a work breakdown structure? How are we going to plan the maintenance and approval of work breakdown structures? How are we going to plan the obtaining of formal acceptance of completed project deliverables? How are we going to plan the control requests for changes, that will come to me at various times and will go and affect what is being requested. Then we have the 5 other things. We need to collect the requirements, speaking to people, understanding what they need so that we can go and collect their requirements. We're going to define what's in the scope, what is needed to be delivered, and what is out of the scope. When we understand the scope of what is needed, then we can create a work breakdown structure. You are dividing the major project deliverables into smaller, more manageable components. You know, if I want to go and get a house, what do I need? I need to get the garden, and I need to go and get the barbecue area, and I need to go and get the actual rooms and kitchen and whatever, bedrooms and the toilets. There's all of these main things you need to go and do. So you start from the high level, then you go and create the main things you need to do. Then you go to the sub things. If I say I want to create a toilet, what is actually involved in creating a toilet? What is actually involved is about really going and trying to ask yourself all of these steps. So fix a toilet. What does that mean? Well, let me go and I don't know, buy all the materials, buy all the resources. Let me go and get a quote from plumbers. Let me go and employ a plumber. Let me go and ensure they're going to start doing the plumbing work. Let me go and inspect it after. Let me go and check it works fine. And then finally you say toilet completed. So you see how you go from a high level to a specific task such as a toilet to specific activities that people will need to do to be able to go and get the toilet to be completed. You then validate the scope. Guys, this is all what you've requested. Have we done what you've actually asked us to? The validating the scope, formalizing acceptance of the project deliverables. Controlling the scope, controlling the changes to the project scope throughout the life of the project, because things will change. People will come and say, we want more. And it is your job to go and really deliver exactly what they're asking. Any questions, guys? All good?
All good, sir. All good.
All right. Now, the second question is, what are the several ways to perform a requirements collection? Guys, you want to know what are the requirements? The easiest way, go and speak to the client. What do you want? Speak to them. You might go in a business, you create a focus group, which involves so many people in the organization. You might go and use creativity in decision-making techniques, such as, you might go and take sticky notes and collect all the requirements from people and then allow people to start reorganizing them into categories, decide what they don't need, keep what they want, and use it this way. You can create a questionnaire and surveys. That's another approach we can go and deliver. You can go and generate ideas by comparing specific project practices or product characteristics. So benchmarking, for example, like how Kmart goes and actually benchmark against other companies such as Best and Less, and Best and Less also benchmark against that company. These are some ways we can go and do that, guys. So question number 3, what is requirements traceability matrix and what does it use? Guys, the client will come and give you so many requirements. You need to keep track to ensure that any requirements that you set to the client you are going to be delivering, you want to go and ensure you have actually delivered all of those requirements. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to go and create a requirements traceability matrix. For example, there's requirements number 32. What's the source? Project charter and corporate laptop specification. Okay, great. What do they want? What's the status? Well, we completed. The laptop has been ordered to meet the memory requirements. So you need to go and actually track that what has actually been delivered is actually matching what has been required by the client. That's why we have it. That's why we need it. What is a work breakdown structure and what's the purpose, guys? I've explained that earlier. It's really the foundation. Okay, look here. It is the basis for planning and managing project schedule, costs, resources, and changes. You do not go and create a detailed work breakdown structure. Your schedule will be bad. Your budget will be bad. everything after will be bad. You will not pass your assignment. This is one of the most important tasks you need to go and do, because it is really the foundation. You create the structure, main things, sub things, sub things, and then you talk about the activities. You assign people to activities. You assign start dates, end dates, budgets. Without that, guys, you won't be able to go and really get the required information. So don't create a budget, don't create a cost, don't create a schedule before you really go and spend the time to think about all the activities that are needed, and start thinking about assigning people, start thinking about how long those activities would need, to be able to name a few things. The last one is, you need to imagine you are working on a simple web development project for an e-commerce site and create a work breakdown structure. Now, I'm not going to go through this activity, but simply, this is your software. There are the main things you need to do. We actually explained that in the lecture today. And for project management, there's planning, meetings, administration. For product requirement, there's all of these things. For design, construct, integration, there's all of these things that needs to go and be actually delivered to be done together. So that's something really to go and bear in mind. I want to go and share my screen again. There's actually something that I want to go and give you the chance to do now. Okay, guys, I want you to think about ICT204. Can anybody tell me, what do you need to do to pass ICT204? What do you need to do? Tell me the main things you need to do. Tell me the main things you need to do to pass ICT204. Come on, guys.
It's basically so working with groups.
So
Submits the assignments.
Okay, submit assignment. So let's talk about assignment. So to pass, okay, ICT204, one of the main tasks is, what did you tell me? Submit assignments, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want you to think about submit assignments being level 2 of the work breakdown structure. Level 1 is, I want to pass the subject. Level 2 is submit assignments. Okay, can you tell me how many assignments you have? Tell me, what's the first one? What's the first one?
Draft.
No, what assignments? What are the first one?
Yeah, book project.
Pass the unit.
Yeah, but you said pass the unit, submit assignment. Then what's the actual activities under submit assignment? What are the main things?
It's creating the main project, actually.
What's that?
Creating the project, sir.
Yeah, but there's a few things. You're actually missing some information. So I'm gonna show you so that you can see what I mean. Okay. So level 1, level 1.1, level 1.1.1, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.4, 1.1.5. So have a look at what I'm going to show you now. Can you guys see? So this is the first level. Can you see it?
No, sir.
Okay. It's probably okay. So guys, the first level, the first thing on top is you need to pass the subject. That's one first level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Underneath it, 1.1 is I need to submit assignments.
Yep.
1.1.1, what assignment do you have? The first assignment is quiz 1.
Yeah.
1.1.2, pin book assignment.
Yep.
1.1.3, agile assignment. 1.1.4, quiz 2. 1.1.5, final exam. So you see how I moved from level 1 to level 1.1 to level 1.1.1, and then in 1.1.1 I need to go into more details. So if I say pass the quiz, I need to do activities. What are they? Attend lecture 1, take notes, revise. Attend lecture 2, take notes, revise, sit the quiz. 7 activities. Each of them will consume time, will cost me time. Yeah? Will have a start time and end time. Once I finish all of these 7 tasks, I say quiz 1 completed. That's my milestone. You understand how I moved from a high level all the way to detail to assign people to the activity, which is you. You will need to do the quiz. Does that make sense?
Yes, and breaking down all the works.
Exactly. And that is really exactly the same of what you need to be doing for your assignment. You need to create a work breakdown structure, which starts from high level all the way to the details. Until then, when you have that structure, then from that structure, you can add people to the plan, which will give you a start time and end time of each task. Because you put people, you also put how much each person get paid. And because you could do that, you will get a budget. And that's really the foundation to get everything else that we really need for this assignment. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So guys, I'm trying to simplify things very, very much for you guys to go from the high level to all the details. Okay. I will now allow you, if you have any further questions for me about tonight, you can ask those questions now. We'll be very happy to answer them. Any questions, my friends? Okay, I'm going to say, guys, if there's no questions, thank you very kindly for your time. We really appreciate serving you, and we really appreciate seeing great outcomes. We care about you. Remember that. Please work hard and get us very, very good, great hard work that we can actually go and mark and see how much you actually have learned. Thank you very much again for all your actual work.